Do you know what it takes to be a multimillionaire in business? Whether it's traditional business or MLM, this interview is going to tell you exactly how to get there. This is your Strategic Partner Podcast. Welcome to your Strategic Partner Podcast, where we give entrepreneurs the secrets, strategies, and processes to increase brand equity and max out revenue. Episode number 11, and the very first interview that I have the privilege to do in here in your Strategic Partner Podcast. And boy, it is going to be an ultimately good one. And the reason that is one of my mentors and one of the people that I'm inspired to be like when I grow up, whenever that actually happens. This gentleman has inspired me over the last 7 going on 8 years now, not only with his business etiquette, not only with his work ethic, but who he is in his family, who he is in the business community, and just one of a kind human being that always would reach out, business or not, that has enough humility within himself to say, hey, I need help. I need to learn about something. And now that is operating a multi-million-dollar company, and seeing him do what he has done, I've had the privilege to see him over the years develop an organization of close to 360,000 customers, about $400 million of revenue of a company that went from zero to hero, and has done it again and again and again, got into the solar space and the energy space, the real estate space, the magazine space, and now he is disrupting I would say the non-traditional medical space itself. And I'll let him say his story in a little bit. So ladies and gentlemen, I am privileged and honored in our very first interview ever in your Strategic Partner Podcast to have with us Mr. Bob Doran. How are you doing, boss?
I'm doing great, my friend. And the first thing I want to tell you is never grow up. Just, you don't want to grow up, man.
Never that.
Mindset that you have, that young, friendly, and, having a baby next week here, kind of mindset, my friend.
Yeah, that's actually true. So next time I'll be doing an interview or anything for that matter, I'll be a father of 2 children instead of just one. So
and you're going to have what they call the rich man's family.
Is that what that is?
You have a son first and a daughter. That's even that's the richest rich man's family.
Oh, well,
an older son to protect the younger daughter. It's awesome.
I'm that part I'm excited about, especially he's 3 years older. So there's enough balance in there that he can protect and still be a good big brother.
We'll be able to bounce them boys away.
Yes, sir. So why don't we get right into the interview itself? Bob, tell us a little bit about, most people, including myself, we get excited about the accolades. We get excited about the achievements. But if you were to look back on some of the struggles that have built your character, any of those stories that are under your belt that led you to this point 30 years later?
Oh my God, Ali, it's hard to pick from the multiple ones, things over the years that started out. I started out actually in the real estate business at 18 years old. And, something that built my character right away, that in that industry, I was 18 years old, just passed my real estate exam. I remember it was a hot day in July, and the manager, the guy running the office goes, do you really want to, go out and make some money? I said, yeah, damn right I do. And he's like, all right, so what you need to do is I'm going to put you in this town called Conshohocken. It's in Conshohocken, PA, outside of Philadelphia, and it's real hilly. So it's the middle of July, suit and tie on, top buttoned up, and I'm like drenching, just getting in the car, just drenched. I'm walking up and down these streets, selling a house. I finally, after 3 days, someone says, yes, I want to sell my house. And I'm like, stop, boom. I walk in, and it's floor to ceiling newspapers. Here it was one of them, what do they call them, pack rats? Or, they have shows for them now. Unbelievable. But so that was my first house. I did sell it, but man, you talk about a hump to get over. Oh my God. So walking the streets of Conshohocken, that built some character, my friend.
I can only imagine. And especially back in the day, there was no social media. There was no easy access to the resources that you have today. And at 18 at that, right?
yeah, there was no cell phones, man. You're out there on your own, my friend.
See, I was trying to be nice and not go that far back, but he said it.
Hey,
So
listen, there
so
was lights, there was and we did have automobiles.
so I I do have to ask. So that was the first house you sold. Have you had a thriving career in real estate after that, or did
Oh my
you?
God, man! Right away, I got into flipping. So I was flipping houses back then. I did about 36 units. And another thing that built character, Ali, is late 80s interest rates went up to 18%. I think right now they're hovering below 3, like 2.9.
Mhm.
Could you imagine 18%? That'll chop you up and spit you out. And that's pretty much what happened to most of us back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you got to go with the flow. You got to roll. You got to learn new skill sets all the time. You grow or you die.
So from that experience, were the interest rates when they hit that 18% a deterring factor for you that you said, I got to go somewhere else? Or did you stick around with real estate and
Now,
say, I'm going to overcome this wave?
you couldn't. I mean, there was nothing happening, man. It came to a dead standstill, and I didn't have a rich daddy, so I had to go out. And cash was king. That was the big motto. Cash was king, because I was sitting on, and a lot of us were sitting on a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that real estate, having that cash flow to pay your bills, your
Yeah,
wife's going to be
maintain.
asking you like, dude, how are you going to pay the mortgage this month?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
you going to pay the water bill, electric bill? So I went out and I started selling advertising on the street. And after doing that for a little while, it led me to an idea. And that's what sparked the magazine, House and Home Magazine, Philadelphia House and Home Magazine. I started that in, my wife and I started that June of 99. Yeah.
June of 1999. And you've built it to what, 500,000 readers?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting fact, and I'm intrigued to hear your train of thought on how that even happened. You did not have any experience in publishing or writing, or I mean, you went from real estate to becoming a magazine publisher. Is that accurate?
Real estate to learning how to sell the advertising. So I had that under my belt, and I knew that was the most important part, Ali.
Right.
I mean, you know how to get that done. Everything else, you can figure it out.
Right.
So I had this idea. I came home and told my wife, and she was just like you were thinking, like,
Mm-hmm.
how the hell are you going to do a magazine? What do you know about publishing a magazine? I said, that's the easy part. That's
Right.
what I told her in my head. I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did deep down feel that was the easy part, and it was. The hard part is getting the money, the advertisers to support it. I went out,
Interesting.
I got the editorial. I actually bought it from a similar guy that came up with the same idea, unbeknownst to me. I sourced it out,
Yeah.
and I bought the editorial in the beginning, so I pieced it all together. I got pictures. I hired an editor because, I flunked out of English class, my worst subject. So, just brought on the right people and told them I'd take care of them once the thing grew. And it's exactly what we did.
One of the things that I love that you just kind of slightly hinted on, I flunked English class, but you still did not allow that to define you from your goals to say, well, I flunked an English class. How can I get into that? What is your message to, because there are a lot of people out there who would say, I was bad in school and had bad grades and I don't have what it takes. How would I be an entrepreneur? How can I be an influencer? I wasn't the cool kid in high school. Those limiting beliefs tend to kind of shut down people's potential. So walk us through, how did you ignore that fact and focus on your greatness?
Yeah, I'd have to probably give my mother credit for that because,
Yeah.
she always cheered me on, through those kind of things. Like, hey, that's not what life's all about, blah, 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 blah. And, I really got to credit her for that kind of stuff. And to this day, I never let anything like that, hold me back or, any of his limited beliefs. You look at, some of the greats out there. I mean, look at Elon Musk, and well, he did go to college, I think, for a year or two.
Yeah.
Up at Kingston. And then Microsoft, Bill Gates, I think he went a year or two and then left. But, you know, school, it's not the end all, but it is for certain
Sure.
positions, right? An engineer needs a degree, and architects and different nurses and, you know, all those fine positions there. But, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, man, you know, you got to get that street degree, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And I love how you positioned it that way. I genuinely believe that the formal education is important as a foundation. If you don't
Yeah.
know how to do math, you're not
Yeah.
going to be able to balance a profit and
And
loss.
listen, I missed out on the 4-year party, man. I lost my bachelor's. You know, had some parents that were going to give me that party for 4 years, but yeah, and
Yeah.
overseas, I would have loved that, you know, out in New
Yeah.
York or something, but didn't happen.
So, from the magazine, you transitioned to the energy space and specifically in a direct sales model.
Yeah,
Walk us through again that transition. You went from the real estate advertisement magazine, and now you're going to a brand new space,
man, it
the
was
energy space.
not easy, my friend. You know, and it was a direct sales, you know, space. So
Yeah,
you have the stigma of the, you know, the whole network marketing thing, and that's the model we were doing. And so here it is. It was 2008, Lehman Brothers meltdown, the whole, you know, real estate market, you know, everything melted down. We thought the world was ending. Um, and here I am running a magazine. Um, all the businesses were home related. So you can imagine the cash flow dried up pretty darn good.
yeah,
And the printer, the post office, we, you know, mailed a ton of these magazines, and, you know, they wanted their money up front, but my customers, the clients, the advertisers, you know, wanted another month or 2 or 3 to pay. And some of them just dropped out and said, hey, you know, I'm done. We're closed up. So it was tough, man. And the only reason we survived was the fact that we were the first to market in that niche. We created it in '99, and of course there was other competitors, and they went out before we did. So
yeah,
it was a matter of survival in that respect, and you know, some fancy footwork too. But we made it. But to transition after that situation, before '08, the magazine, man, it was the best business in the world. Being a publisher and, you know, doing that whole thing. We were expanding. We were about to go open another 2 regions up by you, actually,
yeah,
North
yeah.
Central Jersey, and towards New York and all that. And that puppy just set us, you know, way off course. And I said, you know what? The next time one of these things hits, we'll never survive. So I need to put in that plan B, that side hustle now. So here I'm running this magazine, which left me with 0 time, working all the time, trying to just keep our heads above water. And I remember, you know, telling my wife, because I got a call from a good friend of mine up in Connecticut. I think you know him pretty well
Yep, yep.
too. And he called me about it. And I'm like, Kev, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. And come on up. So I came up, took a look, met the future CEO, because it was just organizing back then.
Right,
And,
right.
you know, obviously, you know, we were a major part of forming, you know, that whole thing and,
Sure.
and molding a lot of it. And so that was kind of fun. But the hardest sales job I had to do was tell my wife, you know, listen, I'm starting a side hustle. And,
Again.
yeah, again. And my assistant, who worked here in the house, we built a little room
Yeah.
for an assistant in the back, and she was totally against it, man. And here she was friends with my wife, so there was some collusion there.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't too good favoring Bob here, you know. So there was about a year, no, I would say about 2 years of tough struggle trying to keep the magazine going, brother. And that was
Yeah.
like, a chain around my ankle, and getting that other thing off the ground, working nights. I was doing meetings and nights, and oh my God, it was tough, man.
Yeah.
But as you know, that pulled off pretty well too. So.
Absolutely. And that brings me into the mix in the May 2011. That's the first time that I actually met you, and the rest of the crew. It was in an event in Cherry Hill that
Yeah.
I came down for the very first time, and you know,
Oh,
here I
Cherry
am
Hill,
with a
baby.
Yeah, yeah. With my bald head at the time, you've met me. I went about it the opposite way. You've met me with no hair, and I grew hair over the years.
Well, yeah, you had some struggles back then. Maybe that's why you lost all that hair.
I know.
Hurricane Katrina and all that crap.
Yeah, yeah. So
Losing your businesses.
for those of you who are wondering, Hurricane Sandy took place, and
Sandy, that's
we had 7 traditional businesses with the family, and
that's all, just 7.
You think you got all these traditional businesses, and you're the hottest name in the neighborhood. You're a 25-year-old, got businesses running everywhere. Everybody sees you with different cars, and you think, "Mama, we made it." Until God says, "Well, let me show you otherwise." The universe said you're not supposed to be here, and I didn't understand it at the time. I was like, "Man, you go from a netting $250,000 a year, and it's just you and your wife, and life is good, to flip it the other way around and say, 'Mom, can I have gas money?'" And it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all. So I actually was forced into looking into the network marketing profession out of desperation, to be honest with you. And looking back, it was the best thing that's ever happened to us, because we ended up having the privilege to collaborate and work together and travel the world too.
Dude, we had a blast, and if it wasn't, for you were one of the, game changers that came when you came on board. Things just shifted in the company, and then it just took off. So
Yeah.
you were the magic sauce that. So we thank you for.
Are you kidding me? No, it was pleasure. It was definitely fun, and we got to go to Barbados together, and travel, and all over the country.
Island we went to that was really cool. How do you say it? Curacao?
No, we went to Barbados. I wasn't in when you guys went to Curacao. That was a year before me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
So now that brings me to this was a punch in the gut. After Barbados, we get hit with the big news on January of 2015. The company is no more. The networking arm is gone. And thank you for your service. Have a good day. Now, full disclaimer, grateful for the company because they continue to pay the residuals afterwards. So we can't, put that aside. However,
still going.
However, for the big amount of hard work ethic, you anticipated more instead of just, okay, well, my residuals are going backwards because you shut down. So how did you react the day that you found out? I mean, I know we spoke and we evaluated to move on together, but can you remember that day vividly? Because I sure as heck can remember it.
It wasn't the first company that left me.
Yeah.
I never really left the company. The companies left me in the direct sales space.
Sure.
And so I got a call from the CEO, and it was right here in this chair, the same chair I'm sitting in right now. It was in the morning. It was cold outside. And I remember in all the details.
Oh, we all do. I can tell you the shirt that I was wearing and what it said on it.
Oh my God. And so when he told me, we're shutting down the direct sales division, I was like, all right, Curry, all right, that's enough of the joking around. What do you need? And then all of a sudden I heard his son, who was the CMO, pop on the phone. He goes, "Oh, Bob, we're Curry serious." And I'm like, "Oh boy." And then it was just like, your whole stomach just walked. Like, because I had my son, Bob Jr., he was involved, and I'm like, oh my God.
I had my brother, my sister, my brother-in-law involved, and it was all riding on me. I'll tell you, mine was, I got a call from Vanessa Jackson.
Oh yeah.
The director of sales and training at the time. Yep. And if you remember, I was organizing the Super Bowl regional.
Yes.
And it was
the
10
second
days.
Annual.
Yep, that was the second one. It was
the first one. You blew up like I couldn't believe, man.
Yeah,
that's another story.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was shocked at that event. For those of you who are listening, I threw a regional event on Super Bowl weekend.
We're like, no, you can't do that. Ali, you'll never do it. You can't do it.
Everybody's like, you're crazy. It's Super Bowl. You're in America. No one's going to show up. 150 attendees later for 2 days.
I was like, how'd you pull that one off, my friend? Oh.
But in any case, Vanessa calls me, and she goes like, "Hey, stop spending money on the Super Bowl event, because I was already $2,000 deep, and you got to organize the food, the caterers, and all that stuff. So I'm spending money left and right." I
Yeah.
was like, "What's going on?" She was like, "I just stop spending any money on right now." So my mind went like, "Oh yeah, the company's about to pick up the tab. I don't have to pay for anything." I'm like celebrated. I'm texting the team, "Guys, I just got a call from Vanessa. She told me to stop spending money. We're about to get them to pick up everything. So I need the list of the recent things that we wanted to add. They're going to deliver." And then I get a call 45 minutes afterwards, and she's like hiding in the corner, and I can feel that she's hovering. And I asked her, like, "Hey, is everything all right?" She was like, "Listen, the company is about to shut down." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, they're terminating the network marketing division." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, I
In
know what
shock.
she's saying. And
Total shock.
and I sat down, and again, I know the feeling that you had in your chest. And my stepfather was in the room, and he goes like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm good." He goes like, "You do not look good at all. You look like you're sick. Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm totally fine." And man, I got in the car. I went to this lake around the corner, and I just sat there for 3 hours by myself.
Wow.
It was because that was, for me personally, the first time that I've experienced measurable success in direct sales. But more importantly, it was the very first time that I've made a real impact in people's lives. Those things that we want to do, the impact we want to create.
Oh, dude, man,
I
everybody
made
wanted
it.
you on the stage. It was,
Yeah.
we need Ali on the stage.
so so
Great.
so let's get back to your
And
story.
also,
Yeah.
just to add to that, the human element, it was like losing your family.
Literally.
It was like, because we were like so close. So we were always in Cherry Hill. We were having fun after the meetings, and it was we'd oh my God, it was just I don't even like thinking back to that, because then emotions are flooding back again.
Absolutely. Now, so we talk about that punch in the gut. Then we go to a health and wellness company,
That was
because
established for how many years?
for 10 years,
Yeah.
and we're like, we're going to go there, and this should be okay, because it doesn't interfere with energy, therefore we get to keep our residuals, so it's not as bad of a punch. We get the crowd, we get the team, we get the organization. All right, we're going to stick together, let's
We
make it
fly
happen.
him out to
Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, Phoenix.
And
Yeah.
next thing you know, 10 months later, like a baby, that company gets shut down by the FTC for allegations of misleading information and documentation, and a whole lot that was happening behind the scene.
Yeah.
How did you handle that as a second
Oh
punch?
man, it was like boom, boom. I felt like I was in the ring with Tyson.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Then we, after that, I think that's when the crew just kind of broke up. Some went to
Yeah.
product, some went back to energy, some stuck with coaching, some just said, "I'm not doing this anymore."
Yep.
But you continued on, and then you went to the crypto space, and you did well over there. And that was another punch. And there's a point of my story of putting this timeline together. You've had so many punches from the direct sales model, and now today you sit as a co-founder of a company that is doing some incredible things in the medical space that also has a referral model.
Yep. Yep.
Have those circumstances, those three major punches, helped you develop the core values of the company and who you are with your partner, to make sure that no one under your watch will ever go through what you've gone through?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, having that firsthand experience, and thank God I had corporate experience before, running both traditional and direct sales companies, that I could bring to the table here, and bring it from the point of view of, being in the field, having those punches thrown at me, and then, being empathetic with all the folks out there, and making sure that we're putting our foundation deep. We're putting them bad boys way down into the ground, so this thing's standing on solid ground.
Yeah.
And yeah. So we don't want no three-legged stool
Not at all. Well,
at
so
New Life
so
Ventures.
why don't we talk about your movement and your organization that you are spearheading along with your business partner Bill resides. Would you mind telling us a little bit about where is Bob Doran right now and what inspired you to do what you are doing today?
Back in when I was young, in your 20s and 30s for the most part, it's all about the money, and then
Yeah.
if you are fortunate enough to kind of get the money out of the way, meaning like you have enough money to pay your bills, and you're not afraid of that anymore, which is, sometimes you feel you're there, sometimes you're not, but you got to be really grounded and say, okay, I got enough. If everything else fails, there's enough money coming in. In my case, I have some real estate and different things, that were put in place. So pretty good that way. So it's a matter of, now being 57 years old, or I should say, maybe about a year and a half ago when we were looking at this, and Bill approached me to be a co-founder, wrote me in to run a company, pretty much. It had to be very special. It had to be the core values of what we wanted to do in the wellness space had to be very special. So that's what we laid out. We don't, our mission, our core values are, it's not about the money. We want to vet out the best wellness products in the world. So even if we have something and things change and things get disrupted, we're going to go to the best wellness device that's out there. So that we're going to be guaranteeing for, the people with New Life Ventures.
Yeah.
So if it's a product, we'll enhance it. If it's a device, we're going to get the best of the best that's out there. So that's our mission these days. It's not about who can grow and be $1 billion company in 3 years, be the fastest one to grow there. It's about doing right by people and, making your dent on the universe that way.
Another thing that you guys just introduced, for example, is the Echo products. And, at first, when I heard New Life Ventures is going to get into the water business, I'm like, what is this, 1997 water filtration? Those days are like long, long gone.
Right.
And you actually did it sexier, more innovative, and even portable. So can you give us a little bit of, again, some background on the train process to bring in on board these innovative items, and what impact are you anticipating that they would create?
Yeah, I mean, I started, this is something we just brought on a little while ago, and for the last 2 months, drinking the hydrogen water. I mean, and there's over 700 studies backing up the benefits. So you could just Google it and see all the benefits, and all the stars in Hollywood is kind of like the latest, greatest thing. Why not make your water better, right? And that's what hydrogen does. So we filter all the crap out, all that, if you have city water, you better be getting a filter on that at the least. So if you're listening to this and you don't have a filter, go get a filter, even a portable Brita, or that's not, I don't want to use any brand names, but do some research, get a good filter, get an RO, reverse osmosis system, get the stuff out of your water. There is pesticides, there's even residual drugs in there. So what this machine does now, this hydrogen machine, is it has a world-class filter. And I don't know if I told you this, it has some cool stuff. It's even got like a special coconut husk that filters the water. That's only a little piece of it, but it gets out the heavy metals, all that stuff. You got to get rid of that. And then adds through there's like 20 patents on this thing, hydrogen water. And a lot of the machines out there, almost all of them, after a few weeks, they're kind of like useless because they don't get the electrolysis right to create the hydrogen. This inventor figured it out. There's no way that the electrolysis can can get interrupted like these other machines. So
awesome stuff. Well, any parting words of inspiration and final nuggets for that person who's listening to you right now? Say, yeah, you sound like a superhero, but I'm not that good at this stuff. What is your advice for that person?
You just got to do it. A lot of people, they hang around, they got these great ideas. I know so many people like that are brilliant ideas, all that. They just don't take that first baby step to go after it, and that's all you got to do. Little baby steps get you there, just show up, show up, boom. I mean, so many people just can't do that.
Yeah.
Be
Awesome.
persistent and don't quit. Very, very simple stuff. And I try to keep organized. That helps a lot. A lot of people say don't create a to-do list, but man, I keep a to-do list and a running list. What I don't finish, then if I don't finish it, it's on the list for the next day. I bang it out. I don't know how people fly by the seat of their pants without getting organized and doing that. So create organized, keep a calendar, G calendar, or here's my trusty
old school calendar as well. Yeah. You know what's funny, Bob? You are the definition of simplicity. A lot of people complicate what it means to be successful. You literally just gave, hey, it's basics. You have a list of things that you're gonna do, stay persistent, and just do it. Like, there's really not much more into it. Of course, hard work, but you simplified it for the masses, and we appreciate it.
And one more thing I'm going to say is there's going to be a lot of shiny objects out there, and you do got to stay focused. What did the old Confucius say? If you chase two rabbits, you won't catch one.
Yeah.
And believe me, I chase more than two rabbits, and some people can handle it, and I've handled it before, and I've done okay with that. But what the meaning is don't chase too many of them, right? Yeah. Don't go down a path with too many things, because nowadays with social media, those trinkets are always in our eyes. So keep focused. Don't veer, and because you put time and effort in. Sometimes it takes a little while to pay off. And if you're almost there, if you're 2 feet away from that gold, you're mining, you're 2 feet away, but then you stop because all of a sudden someone said there's a better patch of coal mine down or gold mine down the road. And then you start on another one and now you're 100 feet away.
Yeah.
So, just keep focused and keep at it.
Right on. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been an exclusive with Bob Doran, co-founder of New Life Ventures, a man that has inspired the heck out of me and my family over the years and continues to do so every single day. I will make sure I include all of his credentials, Facebook profile, right in the comments and in the copy itself. So if you want to connect with him directly, feel free to hit him up. And I will put some information as well about the company, their Facebook groups, and different things that they have. So if you too want to learn how to connect with Bob directly and maybe even have him to be your business partner, you can definitely do just that. Until next time, this has been an exclusive of Your Strategic Partner podcast. And Ali Mehdaoui, we are out. Hey, tell them peace out, everybody, Bob.
Peace out. Thanks, my friend.